Hey everybody, Billy Bob here, and it's Monday morning, Quarterback Monday. And my buddy BDH said, "Stop singing, Billy Bob." They call it Stormy Monday. Lordy Tuesdays, not so bad. I ain't stopping. Because I'm all shook up. There we go. Look at that. Stormy Monday. It was a little stormy. It was nice out this morning. I rode my bike. I went to Planet Fitness. I'm getting in shape. Not as good as I'd like to be, but, my buddy Phil says, "Well, you're probably drinking too much beer." He's probably right. I tried to back off one or two over the weekend. We'll see how that works. I told him, I said, I bet if I could stop, if I just didn't drink beer for 3 weeks, I bet I'd lose 10 pounds. He's like, "I don't think so, Billy Bob." I go, "Oh yeah, I think so. I eat pretty right. We all stray once in a while, but overall I think I eat pretty right." Don't know that that's going to happen. Meaning going 3 weeks without drinking a beer. I don't know. Should make it a challenge, right? That's what you do. Challenge yourself, Billy Bob. Challenge yourself. Oh, man, that's a lot of challenging. I like beer, but then I think back to the days of Richard Petty. Richard Petty said he never drank beer. But he did. Well, but not much. Because he said, "I tried it once and I liked it so much I figured I better just stop right now." So he tried it. He didn't like it. Well, he did like it. But he said, better quit. And he did. So, hey, we got a bunch of stuff to talk about. I got to see if I can find this one thing here that I'm looking for. Hold on, folks. Hold on. Where are we? This is it. So, I haven't talked a lot about this Michigan style. I mean, I talk about it individually. I don't talk a lot about it on the air. This sign stealing scandal with the Wolverines. But I just thought, they really got off easy. 3-game suspension for Sharon Moore. He was already a two-game self-imposed. They give him one out. They fined him like $20 million. They said, "Well, why'd you come up with 20? Well, it's about, we didn't want to do a bowl ban because it hurts the players that are already there, even though by rule there are multiple violations, and repeated violations would call for a bowl ban. Probably a 2-year bowl ban. Back in the day when Tressel was removed, Gene Smith, he self-imposed a 1-year bowl ban. I don't know if they would have got it or not. But, the NCAA is they've got their claws. They've been declawed. They got no power, not much anymore. So they said the reason they fined them the $20 million is, well, that's about the equivalent of if you were of a bowl ban, right? They would make about $20 million if they went to a bowl game. So they took that money away. It's all bullshit. They didn't take away any scholarships. They took away some percentage of money towards scholarship, towards visits, all that bullshit. But, and I'm not going to dwell on it. I'm going to talk about it for just a bit and move on, because there are some interesting things in this statement that was put out by the NCAA. And let's see here. Setting aside the separate recruiting violations, the case centered on Stalions, the architect behind an elaborate, impermissible scouting scheme. Trust me, Phil, I have not been drinking. In this role, Stalions had access to key members of the coaching staff. Aspects of the record suggest there may have been a broader acceptance throughout the program. In other words, they said they didn't know anything about it. Bull crap. However, the true scope and scale, the true scope and scale of the scheme, including the competitive advantage it conferred, will never be known. Why will it never be known? Due to the individuals involved, intentional destruction and withholding of material and information. And that includes Sharon Moore, who lied 2 or 3 times about deleting emails and then finally came out and said, oh yeah, I'm sorry. I lied 2 or 3 times, but yes, I intentionally deleted emails. And yet he only gets a 3-game suspension. It's said that the case and the decision are limited information. So, and then it goes on to say, the investigation also uncovered recruiting violations in the football program centered around 4 different prospects: Denard Robinson, Steve Clinkscale, and Chris Partridge. And then it goes on, the underlying scouting and recruiting violations in the program demonstrated the other guy, Harbaugh, violated the principles of head coaching responsibility. You remember, you ever hear this like lack of institutional control? If there ever was one, and now Harbaugh says, I told you I'm not engaging, I'm not talking about it. By the way, he got a 14-year show cause. Who gives a crap? He's not coming back to college football. And, well, at least not for the next 14 years, but he wasn't anyway. A key component of that culture is the compliance, which is a shared responsibility. Harbaugh did not embrace the responsibility, and his program had a contentious relationship with the compliance department. In other words, the compliance department told him to do stuff, and they said, screw you. We're just doing our own thing. So it goes on and on and on. I won't bore you with all of it. But I got to go back to this one comment here. I just have to go back, because this is the catch-all. The true scope of the cheating scandal, of this scheme, will never be known. The true scope of it. What they know isn't a lot, but the depth of it they'll never know, because of the intentional, I repeat, intentional destruction and withholdings of material and information. And Connor Stallion said he smashed his phone into about 1,000 pieces and threw it in the pond. And the NCAA doesn't seem to think that is worthy of anything but a fine and a 3-game suspension of the current head coach, who was involved in the cheating scandal. He was the offensive line coach. He was the offensive coordinator. Okay, now that I got that out of my system. Ready to move on? We're already 8 minutes in. I know you people with your, oh, Billy Bob, you go so long. I don't have the wherewithal. I don't know. But you'll listen to a 2-hour podcast. I guess maybe I'm just not that interesting. You got to tell me. Am I? Ain't I? So what do we know? What do we know in college football today? Not a lot. Why? Because they don't have a preseason. They have scrimmages. They're closed. They don't talk a lot. But here's what we do know. Ohio State today named Julian Sayin as the starting quarterback over Lincoln Kienholz. Now, it was close, back and forth. Apparently, Sayin must have had some more consistency and a little more of an upside than Kienholz. But believe me, Kienholz's ability and the packages they put in for him, he will play. University of Tennessee named Joey Aguilar their starting quarterback. It's kind of like flip-flop. Joey Aguilar left Appalachian State. He went to UCLA. UCLA signed Nico Iamaleava, who left Tennessee in the controversy of a nil controversy. He wanted more money. They weren't going to pay him. He went to UCLA. Aguilar went to Tennessee. So he was named the starting quarterback. There's two places they have not, two big-time places they have not named starting quarterbacks yet, and that is the Stinkerines in Ann Arbor. It's between, I don't know that's, it's between Mikey Keene and I think Mikey Keene from Fresno State. Mikey Keene and Underwood, Bryce Underwood. Looks like Underwood will probably start. Why? Because Mikey Keene's been hurt and hasn't been able to play much. And then Notre Dame, they thought this thing was really going to be C.J. Carr, but all of a sudden this guy, Kenny Minchey, has really stepped up. And they say it's like a even Steven race. What do we know about the NFL? Preseason, what does it tell you? It doesn't tell me a whole lot. You see a few rookies. Do they do good? Or do they look like they're going to be good? Yeah. If a team is 2-0 or 2-1 or 3-0 or 0-3, does it tell you crap? I remember there's times the Browns went undefeated in preseason when they had 4 games and it didn't translate to the season. So when you look at teams like it might translate with the Cowboys. They're 0-2. They haven't been much for a while. The Detroit Lions 1-2. The Falcons 0-2. Of course, that's probably good for them. Carolina Panthers seems to be a theme. Who else we got here? The Buffalo Bills 0-2. I doubt that translates. The Patriots 2-0. The Ravens, stinking Ravens, 2-0. The Browns, 2-0. The Bengals are 0-1. I think they've only played one. This thing must be a little behind. The Indianapolis Colts. The Chiefs are 0-2. Okay, come on. Are the Chiefs going to be under 500 this year? Are they going to make the playoffs? You're damn straight they are. Now, one thing I looked at in Chicago, the Bears, they pounded the Buffalo Bills last night, maybe it was 38-0. 38-0. Caleb Williams, second year, he's going to be a little better. He's got a little experience, and he's got some good talent around him on offense. Like, look at running back DeAndre Swift. I don't know, Roschon Johnson is his backup, DeAndre Swift's backup. But Kyle Monangai from Rutgers, he's a beast. He's a hammer. Wide receivers, Rome Odunze, they got him last year. Luther Burden III from Missouri, got him this year. Then their tight end, Cole Kmet, but their backup tight end, Colston Loveland. So they've got guys for Caleb Williams to hand off to and to throw the ball to. So I'm not saying the Bears are going to be great. I just thought I looked at that and thought, wow, that's pretty good stuff. So we'll see. We'll see I'll use that word again, how it translates. All right, golf. I don't know if you watched the golf tournament yesterday, specifically the BMW Championship from Owings Mill, Maryland, the Something Caves course. Scotty Scheffler, Robert McIntyre from Scotland. Scotty Scheffler back and forth. Scheffler went into the round down 4. He was up 1 after about 6 or 7 holes. They went back and forth. I don't know if they ever got tied again, but McIntyre was within 1 going to 17. And Scheffler, this guy is just unbelievable, chips in from 82 feet to go up 2 with 1 to play. He wins by 2. Now they go to East Lake Country Club in Atlanta, Georgia for the final of the FedEx Cup. And this year they did something different. They leveled the playing field. Every player starts the top 30. There's only 30 left. And they start even. So it's a winner take all. 10 million. Now, that said, Scotty Scheffler won a little over $3 million yesterday at the BMW, and he got a $5 million bonus. So it was worth about 8.5 or 8.6 million, something like that. If you win the FedEx Cup, you win another 10 million. The FedEx Cup meaning the last tournament at Eastlake. Seems a little bit, fair. Everybody gets a trophy. Unfair. It seems a little unfair that the guy who finished 5th, then he won. Now he goes to Eastlake and he has no advantage. He's, we're all starting eat from even. Now, they do that in NASCAR too. The final race, the top 4, it's winner or the highest finishing player. However, with the PGA, it's not the highest finisher of the, well, it is the highest finisher out of 30. It could be the 30th place guy in the points right now because they're all level set, and the 30th place guy, the guy who just got in 30th place on points, is now at level, and if he won the tournament, he wins the $10 million. That's the way it goes. By the way, in NASCAR, they had another first-time season winner. So that was Austin Dillon at Richmond International Raceway. So he has now raced his way into the playoffs, which start in 2 weeks. There are 14 guys in on wins. You get in either one of 2 ways into the final playoffs. Either get in on points or you get in on wins. So there's 14 guys that have wins. There's 2 guys that are in on points right now. It looks like those 2 guys, one of them is secure, and that is Tyler Reddick. He's at plus 89 points. The max I figure you can get is 60, and that is 40 points for the win, 10 points for each stage win. There's 2 stages, 3 if you count the end, but there's 2 stages, so 60 points. And now Alex Bowman is plus 60. He's the 16th place guy right now. So if he finishes ahead of the guy who he's 60 ahead of, he's automatically in. It's amazing there's some guys, really big names, that aren't going to make it unless they win, because you win, you're in, right? So everybody has a chance to win and get in at Daytona this weekend. But some guys it looks like might not make it, and that's Kyle Busch. Interesting, Kyle Busch, you thought he'd be the guy from Richard Childress Racing to make it, not Austin Dillon. But Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, Chris Buescher, also from Keselowski Fenway, Keselowski Roush Fenway Racing, RFK. Oh, that's Roush, RFK, Roush Fenway Keselowski. Ty Gibbs, grandson of Joe Gibbs. Looks like those guys might not make it. They either win and they're in, or they don't win and they're out. Out. What else? Oh yeah, week 0 starts in college football. The biggest game it's a noon game at least. They're playing over there in Ireland, and it is, they call it Farmageddon because I guess these 2 teams are farm town. The Kansas State Wildcats from Manhattan, Kansas, and the Iowa State Cyclones from Ames, Iowa. So, got corn and we got beef. So, we're just at 20 minutes. We're right there. We're approaching 20. Can you hold on? Can you watch it all? Stick with me, folks. America, land of the free because of the brave. Stay focused, America. Billy Bob, peace out.